Welcome to the Brothers Sinatra podcast, the only podcast featuring two swinging brothers talking about the Amazing Digital Circus.
It's
Jack
amazing
Sinatra,
and it's digital, and I'm Tyler Sinatra,
and we're the Brothers Sinatra. You always like to put a little extra thing, so I'm gonna just put in our notes that I have to pause because I always kind of just go right through.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to say something when you're talking.
It's just like me at a four-way stop. I'm not stopping for nobody.
I don't stop for anybody. Why would I stop?
You know, Tyler?
And I'm going to go whenever I want. And I don't know whose turn it is ever.
Right of way? More like, get out of the way. Because I'm coming through.
More like
now.
right for May. Like it's going to be May.
But here's the thing.
NSYNC song.
If you want to find my sunken treasure chest, you're going to have to try better than that. Because we're two brothers, you know?
I'm the one that always lies.
How true that is. You got to listen to the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. I mean, it's not that hard to listen to a podcast.
It's
Just
really
find
easy.
Us, you know, look for the Brothers Sinatra podcast where you listen to podcasts. If you don't listen to podcasts, you're not listening to this now, and it doesn't even matter, okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at all.
I feel like they would know if they're listening.
They should know if they're listening, but, you know, in this world, what are you going to do?
Don't.
There's a lot of distractions. There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's TikTok, there's YouTube. We're on all those too. So,
tricked you. Those distractions
you
are also
that
us.
You could get away?
Could get away?
Because we're on all those places.
We're there too.
Weirdly, we're even on Threads, okay? I mean...
Yeah, don't...
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about Threads.
Nobody cares. Why is Threads still a thing? I hate when I'm on Instagram, Jackie. And it's just like, oh... There's a thread you might want to check out. And it's like, nobody wants to check out a thread, okay?
No one's ever been like, let me just scroll to this thread that I just found. Let me show this thread to you.
These pictures are nice,
quick.
But let me go ahead and get the long-form version of this in bullet points. I would love that. You know, said nobody ever. But if you do want to check out our threads... I have to tell you, it's even less verbose than what's on the Instagram. I mean, it's fine, you know.
I thought you were going to make a joke about our
Tyler.
Suits. No.
You
said you look at our threads and it's like, hey, what?
Yeah.
You can watch the podcast on YouTube and see our threads.
Yeah, you can watch on YouTube. You can even watch on Spotify, really. And, you know, I'll be thinking about that missed opportunity now the entire day.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I know.
Yeah,
you're
if
welcome.
you want to see all of our other missed opportunities or upcoming shows, you can go to veryentertaining.biz. That's veryentertaining.biz, B-I-Z, baby.
It's fun because sometimes when we perform, people are like, hey, you guys were very entertaining. And we're like, that's the name of our website and business.
Absolutely. You know, we're a real business. We got the .biz.
We're a real business.
And real businesses talk about real shows. And the realest show around right now is the Amazing Digital Circus. And, you know, we're basically on level now. When we started this whole thing, you had seen everything and I had seen nothing.
Right.
Now I've seen everything and you have too. You've probably, you know, still dug more into the extraneous material. You know, but
maybe not.
I have, you know, been waist deep in the Amazing Digital Circus, and I can't say I haven't enjoyed it over this last month. And I'm quite excited for the conclusion of this thing when it does come out in June, much to some people's chagrin, in theaters. I'm going to try to catch the theatrical release, and then we'll talk about it. I'm going to go to
the theatrical release, Jackie. You got to pay for the ticket.
I'm
going to buy one extra ticket for a person who isn't, like, if I take my sweet wife with me, Jackie, I'll buy 3 tickets because I need the 2 plus a 1 just because, Jackie. And then if somebody wants to come and sit in that seat, they can.
Yeah, it's like one for your future child, you know, just so that you can reserve that in, you know, in spirit, you know?
Yeah.
Spirit child.
Right. Digital child.
The Amazing Digital Child.
The Amazing Digital Child.
It's like, I would have brought my child, but unfortunately they're trapped in a virtual reality simulation world.
I haven't quite decided if it's actually them or just a very rigorous copy of the mind files that has been sort of synthesized into a character. Haven't quite figured it out.
Hashtag
I can't wait
mind
to
files.
know. my titles.
Let's get through some Sinatra stats. We're talking about episodes 7 and 8 today of the Amazing Digital Circus. One of those I saw on Netflix because they only had up to 7. The 8th one I saw on YouTube. And, there were a couple ads, but it wasn't too bad. It is what it is. So
Yeah.
it's rated TV
I've been thinking of
PG.
getting that YouTube premium subscription, Jackie. Spend a lot of time on the YouTubes.
Yeah, you got to go primo for your YouTube habit, Think of all the time you're spending watching, Bosley Institute hair replacement ads or whatever you get fed.
Or occasionally when you're watching, really just anything, and then an entire Ben Shapiro podcast starts playing as an ad. That
Tough
was
one.
happening to me for a while.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it sort of sounds like what I was listening to before, but now, wait.
Yeah, every now
It
and then
is-
you get a whole angels are real or, the
Yeah.
world is ending kind of thing. And it's like,
And they're just talking
I don't
in
know
the same
how
way.
they're getting me on this stuff, but
Well, I'm convinced what they're doing is they're finding content that they sound similar in cadence to, so they'll be like, oh, this conversation sounds similar enough. So if you're not quite paying attention, people are doing the dishes.
yeah,
people are going to
well,
sleep.
exactly. And sometimes
they don't quite
I am doing
notice
something else,
that
and
the content.
I literally just can't touch the button. It is what
yeah,
it is.
it's and then it changes, and then it's oh, it's still people having a conversation, but this conversation has gone in a completely different direction than I thought it was going to. Oh,
In
they
any
trick me
case,
every time.
This is
And now I believe in angels. They're real and they're here.
Yeah, they're
and
real
the
and
Nephilim are too.
They're they don't look how you thought. They're
No,
kind of creepy.
They have a lot of eyes.
Yeah, and they got
Speaking of a lot of eyes, Jackie, he
yeah.
has them everywhere.
That's
Caine.
true. Caine does, and Gooseworx has her hands in a lot of different places with regards to this thing. Created, directed, written by Gooseworx. Even some of the music kind of co-written, co-produced by Gooseworx. The studio is Glitch Productions, Australia-based. And I think that we'll probably do a little bit more in the run-up. I'm thinking we'll talk about next week more at the end of the pod. We don't really have a plan, but I think maybe one of the things we should do is look at the trailer for episode 9 and then maybe just, talk about some other things that we're watching in a kind of you share, I share, kind of quick hits situation.
Uh-oh. You're going to find out real quick. I've been watching a lot of Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
It works. We just got to get a time limit because I know you could go for hours on Funky Phantom. So, we'll talk about...
Maybe 2 even.
Let's talk more about, extra stuff about this. For today, we're going to focus on these episodes, so we're not going to dip too deep, but we will go more into the cast, some extra stuff, and the episode 9 trailer next week. And these 2 episodes that we're looking at today were released very recently. We got one on Frank's last birthday. Frank Sinatra, 12/12, baby, of 2025. That's when episode
Happy
7
birthday,
came out.
Frank.
And 3/20, just a month and a half ago, we had the 8th episode, which is also going to be the first part of the theatrical release. So we kind of get, half of what that, endgame movie is going to be. So we got our first act. We're still waiting on the second act, but we're going to review it in the theater, which will be fantastic. So let's go to the
digital
spoiler
endgame.
section. Digital Endgame.
Digital
Spoiler
Endgame.
alert, we're going to do the summaries. Tyler, go ahead with your short summary of these 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah, Jackie. Our rubber baby buggy bumpers venture outside the tent for a beach day and end up meeting an obvious twist villain who convinces them to attempt a circus break that ends up being a ruse. Now our adventurers recover and discuss the realization of the situation they are in, and with the knowledge of Caine's true power, choose to antagonize him anyway, leading to a drastic measure to get themselves free of Caine's anger. But sometimes the best intentions go awry, Jackie. Oops.
Very good. So here's...
Wait. No, that's just, sorry.
Oh,
I just like that part of the episode.
okay.
Wait.
I thought you were doing a disappearing guy for a second.
I kind of did. It was just a different guy that disappeared.
All right, so beach episode is episode number 7. The group goes to the circus's underutilized beach after Caine asserts that he has not planned an adventure. Soon they meet a mannequin named Abel, often seen in the background in previous episodes. Abel claims to be one of the original developers of the circus and tells the group he knows how to escape while insinuating that Caine can't be trusted. In an Ocean's 11 style presentation, Abel helps the crew infiltrate Caine's office, where they find a giant screen with 2 buttons, a red one that keeps them in the circus and a blue one that sets them free. Pomni hesitates to make a choice, and a panicked Jax presses the red button. Caine then pops up and gives congratulations, revealing the whole thing was an adventure, and Abel was an NPC all along. Angry over the rug pull, Jax and the group start to question Caine's influence over their minds, and Caine flees, very upset. And then the second episode, and, how to pronounce this, it's just kind of a smattering of keyboard letters. hjsakldfhl. Okay, so that's the name of this episode. It's a bunch of letters, Tyler. Flashing back. Kinga's wife, Queenie, gets abstracted, and Ragatha arrives to end his isolation. In the present, the crew stops trying to leave the circus after the disappointment of the Abel affair. Caine, triggered by the group's hatred of him, develops a god complex and starts creating adventures just to torture everyone. When Caine takes a break, Pomni puts a bucket on Kinga's head to make him cogent and help deal with Caine. Turns out Kinga was one of Caine's programmers, and he says that all of them do indeed share Caine's ability to conjure objects within the circus. It's just not as second nature to them. Pomni then uses this to make the fake exit door from episode 1 and gets that freaky computer for Kinga, who uses it to try to modify Caine's code while the rest distract Caine with insults, leading him to glitch out into a giant monster and take his stuff up another notch. As Caine takes that torture to a whole other level, Kinga accidentally deletes him, causing the circus to fall apart and the swear filter to be nullified, giving us a real, oh shoot, moment. So, what are your overall thoughts on this thing, Tyler, of these 2 episodes?
Oh, Jackie, this is gonna be good. If they can land this plane, Jackie, what a build-up.
Is Caine really dead?
Yeah, well, I don't know, Jackie. I don't know. But if you know a little bit about the source material that Gooseworx is pulling from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, this is a very interesting twist on sort of the concept. If Caine is gone, the concept of Am is sort of there's a twist going on. That's not what happens in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. So this is a very interesting turn of events for somebody who knows about what they're pulling from, and I think it's sort of perfect in the way that they've set everything up. These episodes really showcase how structured the show is. There's a lot of payoffs with like background gags, the Abel thing, Caine and Abel from the gun episode. There's a lot of interwoven parts. Caine says he's been planning it for a long time. If you look back in the episodes, you can see, yeah, he was. And the audience perspective of it, does Caine have more control over things than he says he does? Is he a liar? Is our narrator sort of untrustworthy? We're getting all of these payoffs in these 2 episodes, and I just think ultimately it just needs that little bow at the end, and we've got one of the best, seasons of indie television I've ever seen, Jackie. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think episode 7 was so good in that I think as a watcher of TV, you never really believe that they're going to get out of it, but you still, up until the very moment when they're in the room with the buttons, you really are wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This could have taken a turn where someone presses a button and all of a sudden we're in live action for the very first time, and it's just like a real different spin on it. But then when Jax presses the red button, you're like, oh, what's happened? And then you find out that Abel was just a ruse all along.
Yeah.
It was an incredible rug pull, an incredibly, just a great episode. And we'll talk about all the pieces. There are details of it and little pieces like the beach and the Chinese room and Caine's office. It's probably one of my favorite just from a scene-by-scene kind of setting perspective, especially since they're kind of in the circus the whole time, which, funny enough, we spent a lot of time in the circus in episode 1, but then, we've been mostly going to these other, other adventure worlds throughout. So it was nice to see the variety of everything in the circus, especially since we're not going to get to spend that much more time here. And in the first episode, Caine, gives this overview of, here's all the places in the circus, and then it's kind of funny that we don't get to the lake until basically we're at the end here.
Right.
So I had a lot of fun with episode 7, and then episode 8, obviously everybody is dejected. Everybody is basically trying to come to terms with the fact that they're going to be here, but meanwhile, Caine is also on one, and, it's just something's got to give with this situation as Caine starts basically trying to find enjoyment himself to the detriment of all of them, because in his mind he has been trying to please them throughout, and now he's kind of done with that, and it is kind of verging more to the short story, that you were talking about. It's more of that type of relationship when we get to episode 8, and they even reference that short story directly in his song at one point. But then at the end, as I was watching it, there was no way that I was thinking that Caine was going to be gone by the end of it. It just, especially when the little Caine icons came up on the screen, I was like, oh, King is done. He's toast. And so the fact that he seemingly accidentally deleted Caine in that moment instead of he himself getting got was a big surprise. And then, what's going to happen? The world fell apart. The color got sucked out. I can't imagine that we're going to be spending the entire 9th episode in this colorless semi-void. And also, by the way, we haven't really returned to the void since episode 1. So it'll be interesting to see how all of these loose ends and various details that pop up over and over again with the CNA, with the B drawings, with the void. We already kind of tied up Abel, but, that CNA, I have a feeling that there might still be another Abel, because we get this whole dot narrative to open up episode 8, where they kind of show you in shapes the creation of Caine. And if you consider the blue dot the Abel, it's basically biblical in that the red dot consumes the blue dot. The red dot is more chaotic than the blue dot. There's so much that we can go into on that. But just a masterclass in different kinds of storytelling, and some of the most fun that I've had, especially I think in episode 7, was probably, for me, possibly the standout episode of the entire series, just in terms of something that's both consequential and kind of showcases every character in a more or less equal way. And then the one thing that I'll say as well is I have not been attuned to the Reddit discourse around everything, but as I've kind of seen stuff that's out there, I know that some people were very upset with Gooseworx for basically saying that Jax and Pomni are the main characters. And it's like, you guys.
Yeah, come on. I don't want to be whatever. No, they're obvious. They're obviously the main characters.
But also, I think it's totally okay for a creator of something to feel a certain way and for you to take something else from the art. So I don't think that the creator's opinion on what they're doing should diminish your relationship with the material.
Yeah, that's a thing that we're getting with. Don't get parasocial about this, folks. You can have a favorite character despite how it is being. My favorite character in One Piece is Sanji, and we all know how Sanji is interpreted in the anime and the manga and all of this. You're allowed to take different things out of characters and just live in that world with yourself. You can enjoy what you enjoy, folks. It's not weird to enjoy stuff.
Well, let's get to nothing but the best, talking about the 5 best moments from these 2 episodes, or 5 best overall, things that we saw. And let's start with number 5. Tyler, what's your
Jackie,
number 5?
Number 5, I call it, finally, a fractal. Oh, the Jack's almost maybe abstraction dream.
Yeah, that was my interpretation, is that it was his...
Yeah.
It
That's
was what abstraction looks like from the inside of one of those blobby goos.
There's a lot of really crazy visuals going on. You're in Jax's room sort of for the first time. He's laying in his bed. He has a bunch of pictures that are face down on his wall. He turns it over. It reveals... the frog's name is Ribbit, and we know Kaufmo.
Yeah,
and
Ribbit we get offhand from Reg at the mid-episode.
Yeah, it's a mid-episode. So it's we don't really have that yet, but that's who it is. And he has sort of that, his eyes are so expressive, whether they're super wide or the pinpricks, and he's having, I think, Jackie, you refer to it as his dissociative eyes, or maybe, or his PTSD eyes.
Yeah.
And he's having a moment in bed, and this is what I think is so interesting about the Digital Circus. Now, with the knowledge we have from all the episodes, all of them are able to conjure these things. Is what he sees in the corner with the triangle actually real? Is it a fabrication of his mind? It is something that Caine's doing? Either way, triangle hole in the wall when he looks at it after he blinks, and beautiful choice. Instead of the hands coming out of the hole, coming out of the sides that would seem as though they're incredible.
And then you get the E.T. fingers.
Yeah, E.T. fingers, but as his hands slim down and change sort of, I don't know if it's changing resolution or changing character, or maybe making it try to seem like it's real life. I don't know. Either way, a change is happening, and then the touch. Trip City. We get my fractals finally. Okay, but to be fair, they're mirrored, so it's I don't know. At some points, we're verging on not being a fractal because you're mirroring it.
Yeah,
it's not really doesn't really count.
It's more like a visualizer, like a music visualizer.
But
then you get the
they
faces,
are using fractals on either side of the mirror, so I'm counting it. I'm counting the fractals, and then you start seeing the faces. Jackie, you're seeing Kaufmo, you're seeing Ribbit, and eventually, in his torture session later, you'll see that Pomni becomes part of the group of when Caine starts messing with all of their minds in the next episode. You get Kaufmo, Ribbit, and Pomni. But in this situation, it's Kaufmo, Ribbit, and then his face is added to the background.
Yeah.
And then he closes his eyes in some sort of blissful smile before awoken by a knock on his door. And his eyes are freaking out in the same way that all of the eyes on abstracted people have. So, a lot of interpretation going on there. I think he would abstract had not been interrupted. But, what an intense sequence. And the music that's playing, this melancholy sort of just repetitive loop.
Yeah, he's floating naked the whole time. And he's got the square
unnerving.
He's got the square pupils, which the square pupils have come up when he's looking at Ribbit's door before. So it's interesting that they kind of have his eyes, for when he's obviously got his panic attack eyes, but then he's got these square eyes for when, I don't know, they're nostalgic or something.
Yeah.
But and then you mentioned the Pomni shadow. I also noticed that there was another character in Kinger's flashback that had a Jester hat on, so I wasn't actually sure when I saw the shadows if it was that character that got like the
I
least
suppose
screen
it
time
could
of any
be.
of them. It's possible, but I'd have to rewatch to see if there's anything else.
I think it's Pomni.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense because I freeze framed on that group that has Scratch and all those other characters from Kinger's past, and I almost missed this short little Jester guy that is probably because he got like we'll maybe go into that later. I don't even know if I have something for that, but it was kind of fun to see all those characters, and I think it's an interesting choice to almost never talk about them. Like you get Ribbit in passing, you get Scratch very much in not as much in passing, but you get Scratch kind of as he was.
It's like a realization of it's like
but
Kinger's
all the
like,
other ones, you got all these other characters that they don't really even touch on. So I think it's an interesting choice to just kind of leave it there and let us fill in the gaps as we will, and like resist over explaining. I think it's probably, especially since they have these 30-minute episodes and so few of them, I think it's a good choice to leave some mystery and some stuff unsaid, but I know that there are going to be some people that are frustrated from a lore perspective of not getting all the detail.
You got to make a prequel series.
And I've also seen that Gooseworx is like not wanting to touch this content with a 10-foot pole after this thing is done. And I can't say I blame her, but who knows? There might be a future without Gooseworx. I have no idea what the stranglehold she has on the rights or if there's any future after this. Could also be a time thing, maybe in 5 years, if this is the most successful thing that they've ever done and they could make a bunch of money.
I could
Sometimes
see,
money talks,
but the thing is, I hope that, and it doesn't seem like they will. Glitch has a lot of things going well for them outside of the Digital Circus. Yes, this is their most popular property, but I've also watched Murder Drones. Murder Drones was very good. They're going to have, Knights of... I forgot the name. There's a new one. I apologize. I should have done all this research before I did this.
Yeah, we can talk about it next week.
They have a few pilots that are also very good. Similar in quality and voice acting talent to the Digital Circus. I think they're going to be fine without dipping back into the Digital Circus pool. However, I do think if we get more of it, it would be a travesty to go forth without Gooseworx. I don't think you should take the OG creator out of any further. Like, if you're going to keep moving, you got to keep them around. If they say no, it's a no. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, if the rights are there and someone can make money, it'll probably happen. But we'll see.
I know, but I don't want that to happen.
I know. I'm just saying.
I want the integrity of the art to maintain itself.
All right, my number 5 is the beach scene highlights. So I did not do nearly as much transcription of specific lines as I normally do on these episodes, but I did write down the sun. Pomni changes in the Pomni changes inside of the little tent that had like little monster legs, and then the sun's like, "If you ever need a sunburn, give me a call."
Yeah,
and it's like, why would I ever do that? It's like, I don't want a sunburn. It's like, you should have thought of that before I decided to hate you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that after we got the frisky moon, that we get this kind of maniacal...
Yeah, it's like aggro sun.
Aggro sun. We get Gangle and Zubul. Zubul, I think, draws Jax's face on a watermelon that Gangle is then hitting Gallagher style, which is kind of interesting. You know, Jax is kind of... This is pre-Jax dream that you were talking about. So he's just kind of depressed sitting on a sun chair. And nothing is really getting a rise out of Jax. He's like really in a down mode. Ragatha loses her eye in the water, and then Pomni swims down. And as she's swimming through the depths, all of a sudden, I gotta say, the style of the fish that pops up, just from a visual standpoint, it seemed like it was Like
Oh,
absolutely
Jackie,
just ripped out of an N64 game or something.
may I? It is the fish scene is my number 3. So we get like
Okay.
you going over all of the, but it doesn't matter. We'll just skip my number 3 so we can talk about it now because I know what they're referencing, and I had known it the moment that I saw it the first time. Those fish are a direct reference to a Christian cartoon, like a very obscure, like Christian 3D animated series called Gaither's Pond. Maybe it wasn't even a series. It might only be like a few episodes. And it was like trying to be VeggieTales, right?
Okay.
But they did not have the 3D technology. And it's like they look... Oh, folks, look it up after this. Look up Gaither's Pond. It's crazy. It is like great college try. Not necessarily the content I was craving, but I did see it when I was younger. That and like caught a few episodes of Bible Man, you know?
Bible Man.
But you've never heard of Bible Man?
No, I was
Oh.
not on these.
Maybe that's the next thing that we should do.
Let's go deep into Bible Man.
Just deep into Bible Man. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so the fish pops up.
The fish
if you want to
are
find my
incredible.
sunken treasure chest, you're gonna have to try better than that. And Pomni is confused. I think
Yeah.
she goes up for air and then goes back down, and that's when we see the two of them. They're fish brothers, which I love.
Yeah, the Fish Brothers. Yeah. The brother fish.
And then they
Orange
just
and red.
reiterate, it's like, you're gonna have to try better than that if you want to find the sunken treasure. And then the other fish.
I'm the one who always lies.
You ruined it.
It's so fun because it's like two references it's like referencing Gaither's Pond, but it's also referencing the classic like what is it called? Knights and Knaves, where it's like the knight always tells the truth and the knave always lies, and you have to there are two doors and one door, you have to figure out which door to go into. It's like and you're asking them questions and you have to figure out which one is lying and ultimately which path to take. And to just bust out with "I'm the one that always lies" is.
And then Pomni, I think, is like,
I
oh,
don't-
is that it over there? And it's empty. And then
Isn't it?
the
Oh,
first fish
God.
goes over and has a mental breakdown.
Yeah. And that fish is, I don't know, Jackie, that is hjsakldfhl, who's one of the creators of Smiling Friends, who's like, oh my God, dude, my treasure. He's the yellow character. I forget the name. I
And
don't
then,
really watch
and
Smiling
then
Friends.
when Pomni resurfaces, she's completely forgotten that she's looking for the eye at that point.
Yeah.
So
I know,
Ragatha's like,
yeah.
did you find it? And she's like, I did, but it was already empty. What? It's like, oh, your eye.
She's like, I would have, but somebody already plundered it before I got there.
That was just a great sequence.
Oh, yeah.
And then she gets back on the beach, and there's this little shrimp. Does the shrimp say that it's from Shrimp Town at that point?
I don't know.
I think it just says I'm the shrimp. I think it just says I'm the shrimp NPC, and like kind of stops. And it seems like something that Caine like half wrote and then didn't continue. Pomni happens to glance over. I can't remember if she sees Jax leaving maybe, but also she sees Abel kind of waving her over, the mannequin. We don't know it's, Abel at this point, but the mannequin NPC. And if you've been watching in other episodes, that mannequin has been around. So in the very last episode, they really focus on it. It's like it's in the background of the beginning, but then they really make a point to... They do like a dun 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 on it at the end of the very last episode. But you're saying that if you're looking around, he's been
there
for a long time, and it's
Yeah.
possible. It's not certain, but I think it's possible that that's the one in the bathtub in episode 1 with a freaky face that
Freaky
comes
face.
out.
That's what I like to think.
And then Pomni sees him. She looks back at the shrimp, and it's a fried shrimp now. And the son's like, "You're welcome." So just a fun time at the beach. So that was
We
my
love
number
the beach
5.
scene.
Was the beach
Yeah.
scene highlights? It was a fun little jaunt before we get on to the main event for episode 7.
Yeah.
So what's your 4,
Jackie,
Tyler?
my 4 is it is the Chinese room. I think I don't know if you're aware of this. This is like a real. It is an existing like thought experiment. Like I don't remember when it was created, but 1980. There you go. I just looked it up. And it is like a real philosophical thought about how complex computers and AI can get. And I'll just I'll read off like what the true thought is, and then you'll see how kind of interesting the interpretation of what they did was. It's pretty spot on. An English speaker who knows no Chinese is locked in a room with a rule book in English for manipulating Chinese characters. A Chinese speaker outside pass in the question, and the person in the room uses the rule book to match the symbols and produce an appropriate answer, passing it back out. The outside observer, the person in the room seems to be fluent in Chinese. The person inside the room does not understand a word of Chinese. They're just following the rules that they've been given. And since a computer can be like replaced as that person in the room, ultimately the thought is like AI doesn't really understand what you're telling it. It just has a set of rules that it spits back at you to get the correct result. And us putting some sort of like intelligence on it is actually a mistake, because they don't understand the things that you're saying to them. They just have a set of rules that kick back the correct answer, but they have no understanding of the context in which like the question is asked, or like, and it's just so interesting that they put it a direct reference to like a very thoughtful philosophical idea in this show. I mean, there's a lot of them, but like it's literally a direct reference. They hand Chinese characters on. The only difference is Caine doesn't know Chinese, and that's the joke about it. I think it's so funny that he's like, I don't understand Chinese, and then he starts laughing. It's because the Chinese room doesn't make any sense unless he speaks Chinese. Like he needs to, like it doesn't, and oh God, I just thought it was so funny.
Yeah. And I think thematically it really matches. Caine has such a hard time of interpreting what's going to make them enjoy themselves. He's trying so hard, and in his mind, he's doing everything he can. And he's like, I don't know why they don't like their bodies. Like, I did everything I could to model it based on their mind files. So he just there's this lost in translation element to Caine. So if that is just more kind of nailing down that kind of theme, I think it's genius. But I just took it at pure face value.
No, that's like it's something that has existed for a very long time, and they recreate it in the show in such a perfect way. Insofar as like the guy inside Caine lays it out for you. He's like, I believe the guy inside the room is a fluent Chinese speaker. And then when they open the door, the guy says, oh, thank God, and leaves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's speaking English, and he just has a book in front of him. And I just think it's so funny. And for people who are into like programming, all of the video game stuff, these little niche fandoms that we've been talking about throughout the podcast and reviewing this, you're hitting like really, really fun inside jokes for people who are interested in the same language that you're speaking. And I just think all of these references, the Gaither's Pond stuff I was very fond of too. All of these things, the Knights and Knaves, you're hitting all of your like key demographics for this beautiful piece of material. I think it's just very fun because it's like, I'm obviously one of the target audiences, and I'm like, this is so funny to me. Why why did you put the Chinese room
I just love the
in this
joke
show?
too that Abel says that he's got this theory that Caine will commit to a bit 100%, so he will never go
Yeah.
into the Chinese room because it's part of his bit commitment.
Yeah. And I'd
All
like
right.
to believe that, but everything Abel could have said could have been a lie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I have some things that I think might have been hints that Abel was, just working for Caine the whole time, and it was kind of there.
Yeah.
Like, if you know it's there, you can kind of look for certain signs. My number 4 is Caine's office. Just the setting of it. It
Incredible.
reminded me, the first thing that I thought of was like the Mages Guild in Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It just has a very kind of like Wizard's Tower kind of feel to it. It's got all of the orbs, and when they zoom in on it, I think in one of them you see the candy world that Gummy Goo came from, and so this is like the portals into the different places. I think it's interesting because when you see episode 7 and nothing else, there is a possibility that this is a fabricated thing and this is not actually Caine's office, but then in episode 8 he is actually sitting in that very office, so it is actually either a replica of Caine's actual office or they're in his real office. They have like a Wizard of Oz moment where they're all, pretty clearly, I think, mirroring the walk where, everybody's linked arms. They're walking in a chain. And then you get one of the more interesting song polls. So we had Daisy Bell from the last couple episodes. In this one, you hear the tune, and the first thing I thought was, "That Stranger in Paradise." Little did I know that this is in the public domain because Stranger in Paradise and all of the music from the musical Kismet was all basically based on Borodan music from the 1800s. So it's an interesting little thing that you can pull. It's fair use because it's the original Borodan, but there is a musical from the mid-20th century called Kismet, and I think that's the reference, is just Kismet, which means fated destiny. So I think that's why it's there, is the fated destiny aspect of this, because they're basically going down this hallway talking about, we're going to get out. Does any of this matter? Zubul and Gangle have that, like, was any of this real? And, of course it was real, blah, 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 blah.
It's real in our hearts.
Yeah. And
especially if you just mind files, because then it's going to be the only thing you've got.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then you've got when they're walking down that checkered path, you got those plinths that just have like geometric shapes on them that are, then it's kind of fun to look at that then after seeing episode 8, because in the dot thing you see Caine kind of excreting, or the red dot and the blue dot are excreting shapes. So it's like, those are kind of the original building blocks of this circus maybe. So just a lot of fun in Caine's office, an interesting setting. And I think it really just brought the, like, this might almost be over. We're in the Wizard of Oz's, tower. We're getting there. And what's interesting about the Wizard of Oz as well as them kind of, banging on that theme, is that obviously, the Wizard of Oz is a sham in the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, again, it's like
wizard.
more things pointing to the fact that this is not actually going to be the conclusion that they're hoping for. So your three,
Jackie. My number 3 was the Fish brothers. I love them, dude. My treasure, dude. And it's honestly when I saw it the first time, I'm like, Gaither's Pond. That's crazy. Why would you put that in here?
Yeah, I would have never ever gotten that. I just thought it was clearly, it had to be referencing something because the animation relative to where we are currently with, the animation and the Amazing Digital Circus, it just looked like they took, a couple decades steps back on purpose.
Yeah.
With the fish.
And it's like down to some of the animations, it's funny. They like recreate something that I remember, like the mouth going like, oh, it's spot on. Very funny.
Yeah. So and my number 3 was that the opening of episode 8, basically this whole narrative that they tell with just dots and shapes and a grid. So
Yeah.
I'll just kind of I just made notes of this whole section. So it starts as a grid with a red dot. The red dot starts absorbing other red dots, and then you get these photos that pop up, which I took as them training this thing with photos from the real world. After it sees the photos, it starts to generate these shapes. Then it absorbs some, blue dots, and more photos are taken, and it generates more shapes. Then it absorbs green dots, takes more photos. You get more shapes, but then it immediately gets fenced in. So it's like they're trying to keep it caged up. And then this blue dot appears and is fed some yellow orbs. And it seems like the blue dot is a little bit less chaotic. It's forming more perfect shapes in a calmer manner. But then that chaotic red dot breaks out of containment, goes and eats the blue dot, and then starts just like really shooting shapes out, inevitably creating this big top with geometric shapes. So just a really cool opening to an episode, where you kind of know exactly what's going on, even without them telling you the red dot is Caine, the blue dot is another AI. You can kind of get the idea. And it basically is... It's interesting because that you could look at as a flashback, and then it goes right into another flashback from the perspective of Kinger. So the opening of episode 8, kind of taking those 2 steps back, I think an interesting, they could have started this episode with Kinger and, done it that way. So I think it's really interesting that they started with this whole, like, almost the Big Bang of the Amazing Digital Circus. Like, this was how we actually got started, and then a snapshot of later in time when humans are kind of the first, what I imagine would be the first batch of humans that ended up in the Amazing Digital Circus. And then even that was so, retracted and cut off. Like, Kinger's literally in mid-sentence with Queenie when all of a sudden, bam, we get like a time phase to when he's not as sane and he's completely alone. So really interestingly handled. And all that happens in about 2, maybe 3 minutes. But I thought a really effective opening to
And you mentioned
episode 8.
this to me the other day. Excuse me. Not on the pod, but that's what the first thing you're going to see in the theatrical release is that sequence. And when you said that to me, I'm like, oh, wow. If they were planning that from the beginning, what a perfect opening for the final, whole sequence of the end. If you're going to show episodes 8 and 9 in sequence and starting with that, just a really, really intelligent decision.
Yeah, and I think something that could stand on its own 2 feet. I do wonder if episodes 8 and 9, and has the runtime for episode 9 been released at all?
The last I saw is that Gooseworx is still working on it, so I don't know.
So I don't know if the runtime, like, I wonder if it's going to be more in the neighborhood of a 45-minute or, something basically. I wonder if it's going to be between 60 and 90 minutes or if it's going to be just another 30-minute episode that gets us to a solid hour of that, whatever that theatrical
I want it to be 90 minutes so bad,
Yeah,
Jackie.
I would be surprised if it gets a full 90, but I think even a 75 total would take it
with
there
the added with 8 and 9 90 minutes. Come on, I think they could do it.
Because I think 8 is like 34 with the credits, so I mean 9 would have to be doing a lot, which is possible, but we'll see. But
who knows,
maybe
Jackie?
I'll look into it, and maybe next week we'll talk about it. If they have any kind of information about that. Okay, so that was my number 3. Was just the dot narrative opener. What's your number 2?
The cast confrontation with Caine to his ultimate break into their trauma sequences. We get some interesting, like, he gets the multiple arms, eyes, he goes nuts. He's God. He's taken the gloves off.
Yeah, they're not hiding it at all. He literally says, I am God. So
Yeah, he says it
You
straight
understand
up.
what's happening.
And he pulls them all into, different varying, whatever he thinks will hurt them the most. Pomni sees Gummy Goo, but Gummy Goo is a terrifying actual alligator monster.
Yep.
And like his brothers come back in, and they're all scary alligators, and they're biting
there's a
her.
new one too. There's like a fourth.
There's
alligator.
a new one? There's a fourth one? Maybe it's Mom.
They're like at that part, it made me think of Hungry Hungry Hippos, the way they was going in on Pomni.
Oh, yeah.
No.
It kind of was a Hungry Hippos thing. Gangle had all of, it's essentially deteriorating mental health. If I was smart enough on my first watch through to have thought anything about, mental health with the masks, hey, it's a really vivid picture of all, the spinning canvas paintings of her face is slowly melting into despair.
And
Scary.
then she gets hit with a truck.
The truck, yeah.
The despair turns into a truck.
The despair turns into, Jackie, please.
Tough one.
And then Zubal's in a mountain of her own parts with a bunch of her own arms holding mirrors up to herself as she's being
Zubul
swallowed.
got off easiest.
I mean, Ragatha...
Yeah,
you find out is oh my gosh, she had a terrible family life.
Yeah,
That's
because
not
that was
good.
clearly the overbearing mother figure.
Yeah, right.
Was
You're
the
like,
big
oh
shadow.
wow.
Yeah, and
That's
knives in all of the guests at the table. All the NPCs had knives in them, and then Ragatha just get knives to the eye, knives to the hand. Oof.
Yeah.
Telepath or
so that's
telekinetic mother with the knives.
Yeah, very scary. Then Jax had sort of a similar to Gangle situation where, except it's his friends laughing at him. That I interpreted it as his friends, or at least the people he has grown to care about, laughing at him. It's Kaufmo, it's Ribbit, and then one of them eventually turns into Pomni, and they start tearing his layers off, which I think is he's afraid to be vulnerable. He's never vulnerable, and these are the only people who can make him feel that way. I think he has a little secret about why he might want to stay in the circus, generally. Maybe he did something that he regrets in the real world, and he's just trying to stay here. Kind of that.
Yeah.
And it's these are the people that could make him feel any way about anything, so they peel off his outer exterior, revealing his supple yellow center.
Yeah, he looked weird without the
weird
top
as
coat.
hell, Jackie. And then King. What happened to Kinga? I forgot what Kinga's was.
Kinger, I don't think he didn't
guy.
get one because he was on the computer. They were
Oh yeah, he
distracting
was on the
Caine.
computer. Yeah, they were distracting him. Yeah, because then he's oh my gosh, and then he's like, "Where's Kinga?" And you get all the
Yeah, that
Up
was some
until the
great
moment-
leadership by Pomni. I think that was probably Pomni's. I think Pomni has some good moments in these couple of just having good ideas, but that really saved
the
the
step
day.
up. We were
because-
learning. We wanted to hear about him so we could make fun of him make fun of you behind your back. This is the thing that I've been saying from the beginning. He's trickable. Caine, you can trick Caine. Zubal's been tricking Caine the whole time. You could have, from the beginning, you could have convinced him that you were on his side and all gung-ho about it and had a very different situation. But now there's no turning back. You've got to, it's either wrath or wrath. And if you hold off wrath for Kinga, maybe you have a chance. So we're going all in. You convince him that you're right, you're right, Caine. We do all hate you. In fact, the only reason we got you to come over here is so we could make fun. And he breaks. And, again, trauma sequence. And then when King is typing all of the prompts into you mentioned there's a bunch of little icons with Caine that come up. The fandom has paused the text on the screen a couple of times. They're pretty certain we figured out Kinga's real name, and also that Kinger is not the only one on the console, or at least not the only entity interacting with the code that is being typed in. So there is a theory that there is another AI or the remnants of the blue bubble AI or the blue dot AI that is underhandedly destroying things. And, I don't know.
Could that be Bubble?
Oh, Jackie. Yeah,
Because
that's what people think.
But the other
it's
thing
Bubble.
is, there is a moment where Caine's eyes, one of them's red and one of them's blue.
One's
That's
blue.
a clear kind of reflection of
Yeah.
of the
And
dots.
ultimately, one of the best characters in the show, Caine, has a great sort of final moment, and the sudden stop, everything is frozen, and he is staring straight down the barrel of the camera, and just says, "Wait," and disappears. And what a
No confetti for Caine.
Yeah, no confetti,
Just gone,
nothing
like
fun,
disappearing guy.
just gone. And the idea that a program, things are, when you shut down your computer, the process is like stop in a different order. As far as we know, as an AI, he was like, "Oh, something's happening to me." And then he could have realized as much as AI can realize anything. And that's like, what a terrible thought to know right before you're instantly disintegrated. Interesting little, makes you feel something for Caine, even though he is now some sort of terrifying god.
Yeah,
You're
there
like,
were a
"Oh,
couple of
wow."
moments that made you sympathetic. Like I just mentioned, Bubble really pushed him over the edge, seemingly on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
in
Purpose, Jackie.
the office at the start of 8, he was kind of second guessing himself, wondering, why is nobody happy, blah, 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 blah. And then Bubble's like, basically just, "You're bad at your job, you suck, you're doing it wrong," and like really sending him down that spiral. To what end, we don't know. Bubble could have been pushing them knowing that the gang would hatch some plan to end Caine, or Bubble could have been doing it sadistically against the humans. We still don't really know.
No idea, Jackie.
Okay, my number 2 is the Abel, just everything to do with Abel in episode 7. I think it was the fact that they seeded Abel so much before episode 7, making it seem like this was a big moment and that this was an actual way out. I think it's one of the most effective rug pulls. Even though, and I think one of the best things that they did about it too was that you had people questioning it, especially Jax, the whole way through, where Jax says verbatim a couple of times what it ends up being. He also takes he's also wrong about a couple things. He says like Mr. Obvious, villain turn or whatever.
Yeah, twist villain.
Yeah, Mr. Obvious twist villain. And so it's obviously not that. It's just the fact that Abel is an NPC. But Jax basically says at one moment, like, that we're going to get to the end of this, and Caine's just going to pop up and said, like, "Great job with
another adventure.
The circus adventure." And that's exactly what happens, essentially. But yeah, Abel, you see him in previous episodes. Then when he finally comes, the fact that you have Caine, the minute you get an Abel, I'm sure people were like, "I know it. I knew that.
I knew it.
Because
I'm vindicated.
I know the Bible stories because I watch Bible Man, and I know that there's an Abel, and this is meaningful, and this means something." Then
I know that some weird Batman / Superman / Jedi is gonna really teach me a lesson.
And then you get Abel constantly trying to keep Kinger out of it, insinuating that Kinger did something bad on the outside.
Yeah.
And like at every single step when they're trying to bring Kinger in, Abel is like, "Oh, well, as long as you keep him in check," or like You know, that's not the... He just, like, has so many throwaways where it's like he seems to know something bad about Kinger, which if it turns out that that's absolute BS and it's just for the narrative, I think that is, number one, hilarious, but number two, just, like, diabolical on the part of Caine for putting this all together. And then also the locket, the fact that he has this locket that he looks longingly into, and you don't see what's in it at the very end. Yeah, it's just a picture of a hot dog that he was looking at.
I made a promise. And he's like looking in the locket, and he closed. I should get a raise. You're getting too smart. Delete.
Oh, yeah. He got the gummy goo treatment.
I just knocked my camera so bad, Jackie. Don't even worry about it.
And let's see. What else with Abel? It's he gets the... I think one thing that was kind of cool... again, episode 7 had some of the best settings. When they go to the admin world that's kind of behind the Mario 64 wall that you can go into... And it's like this bridge within this weird mystical lagoon, and then they have to pull the admin keys out of this giant sphere. Like, again, the fact that this is all just fabricated is really funny. And he pulls these admin keys. He's like, "How many?" And she's like, and she gets one for Kinger, and he's like, "All right, but you have to be sure, and then make the right choice." But then the part I was talking about before that. The one part to me that absolutely spells it out that this is Caine that is behind this whole thing is when they're in the Chinese room and he's like, you kind of wonder why they do this. It's kind of written off like it's a joke. Abel says something along the lines of, and everybody can leave, but not Caine. But Caine cannot leave. And he, like, hammers that home 3 times. Well, except for Caine. And I think that that's Caine trying to be like, oh, they're going to feel bad that I can't leave, so they're definitely going to want to stay because they care about me. So that's kind of how I'm interpreting why Abel is doing that, because it's really Caine telling them, like, just so you know, like, I'm not going to be able to go with you, so you're definitely not going to want to leave because because
I can't go. Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's kind of sad. It's like a kid that wants to play with other kids and none of the other kids want to play with him.
There's also another part where he's talking about how, like, Caine has eyes everywhere. When they're in the hallway.
Yeah, you can see the eyes a lot.
And then there's, like, they show you pictures of eyes. And you're like, yeah, but you saying that right now... He could. Your point is that he could see you doing what you're doing right now, and that's why you got to go to the Chinese room. But you saying that he can see you now. That's part of what I was thinking. I'm like, how can you say we have to hide from Caine in a place where you're not already hiding from Caine? It was just like, but again, it is an incredible episode.
Yeah.
Everything I say about this, we've got one more best part, but when we get into the demerits, these are like...
I think we'll probably speed through the demerits because...
the demerits aren't going to be very, fruitful.
So what's your number one then for the best parts?
Jackie, I knew this was coming up, which is why I never made Caine like my honorary award winners for anything, because I knew that this part existed, and it's running the show. His musical number.
Yeah.
No, generally in a non-musical property, to have a vocal traditional musical number where they go straight, they go into kick lines. It is a musical sequence, and not just the fact that it has music. I'm saying a traditional Broadway musical, like an American musical.
Yep.
They are taking a ton of tropes from... Normally, again, I would be like, ugh, this is kind of out of place. I don't know why you would... But it's not. It is one of... It only works because we've decided that he's God and he can do whatever he wants. And he's like, you think that you don't want to be involved with my stuff? Well, we're going to get involved, and we're going to get involved right now. And we're going to do one of the craziest things you've ever had to do, which is sort of be involved in a musical number. And the lyrics are terrifying. The voice, I gotta say his name right. Alex Roshan. He must have been classically trained, Jackie.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got chops. He is singing this thing. And there are a bunch of like great visual things that Caine gets to do. He like hops in his own hat. He does a little jig. He also absolutely tortures all of our characters throughout. He's pulling their eyes out, pulling their arms. He's making it very clear that he's running the show, and you've been getting off easy this entire time, and this could have been so much worse. You should have been thanking me.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You spat back at my face, and now this is where we are. And again, Jackie and I sing aside from doing the podcast, and again, not always for a musical number. Boy, it was, I already said scary, but like just perfect timing, the energy, everything that it brought, and the full understanding and context of this can go anywhere. He can do anything, even break like sort of the theme of the show, which has been just generally just like procedural adventures. He's like, now we're not doing that. It's a musical now. I'm changing the genre of the show for like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I have full control over what's going on for this next 2 minutes, and you're going to figure that out. And he's a great singer. Alex,
Great
never
singer.
change.
And it's just
Great
one of
singer.
those, it's basically the moment where that song would occur in the musical where a character realizes, it's almost like the self-actualization of the character, and then they sing a song about, this is who I am, and like that's exactly what's happening here. So he's decided that this is his new way that he's approaching everything. He's running the show. He's been the ringmaster the whole time, but now he's, basically, hey, if you're not happy, I'm going to try to make myself happy, and this is how I do it. And yeah, it was a great number. It's well digitally choreographed, well sung. I think especially when it starts out, it's like, okay, he's doing like a fairly good job of, character singing, which is its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets up there and
at the end of the
fantastic.
song, running the show, at the end is, whoa,
yeah,
he's a tenor.
Fantastic.
And you're like, wow, that's why you're making the money, brother.
Yep.
Us baritones are going to stay in the corner for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll just be over here.
We're going to be over here. You could sing that note.
Yeah. My number one is Caine Corner as well, and that's obviously a big piece of it. We've talked about a lot of the other bits, especially as he gets really sadistic towards, when he approaches his final moments, R.I.P. Caine. But also, I just wanted to point out a couple of other moments. I love him and Jax at the cafe when Jax is trying to get the key and distracting him. He has so many lines in there, and I didn't write them all down, but he has one piece where he's talking about, how can I make these adventures fun for the Zubul and the Pomni? And then he's obviously, I cedar smoked salmon, but I hardly know their smoked salmon.
Yeah.
And then he asks a question, Jax does, about his secret hobbies, which causes him to like get into this hush tone, and then he starts to like do his little internet sound spaz as Jax is searching for the key in his mouth, and then he wakes up while Jax is in there. And I love Jax is like, I've always wanted to be eaten by you. Something.
What a weird thing to say and want.
And then there's one. And then when it flashes back to them still at the cafe, they've been talking, and he's like, so what's your takeaway? That I'm just like a really down-to-earth, cool, reasonable guy or something like that. I didn't write down the full
That you'd
line,
like to
but-
hang out with or whatever. Yeah, and his eyes get all big and dreamy. And then Jack's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then Jax gets out of the situation by saying they want to create a surprise for him to show their appreciation, and he's like, oh, well, say no more. He'll get you out of there. Just his
Yeah.
before he gets really basically evil Caine in episode 8. I think in episode 7, it's some really fun Caine stuff. I'm just seeing if I have anything else specifically written down. Oh, the one other thing is after he pops up when they press the red button, he says, stay fragrant. And then he's like, I'm fragrant.
Yeah. Fragrant. Light. Yeah,
because
he's
a
like...
basket of lotions and perfumes.
Yeah, because it was like, stay fragrant, and it was another word that he spoonerismed. He like flipped the beginning parts of the word. I forgot what the other one was. But I want to honorable mention something that you just reminded me of. There's a bit of like sound work that happens during the Caine torturing our adventurer sequence, where they're all like, before like Pomni is struck by lightning, they're all like tossed into like a black background, and there's like wind blowing, and you can hear like whoosh, and I just remembered that is what happens in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. There's a part where he's like, we've been picked up in like a tornado, and but they don't know how long it's been. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That's what, sorry, I just like, that just came to me. It's like, that's another just, there's so many little bits, folks. You should watch this show. If you haven't, I don't know why you're listening to us talk about it if you haven't watched it, but like.
They're an hour in and they haven't watched it.
Yeah.
The last Caine thing I'll mention is when he's making a tree out of everybody. He's like, humans aren't a relatable sculpting material. All right, let's get to the demerits, and let's kind of go quickly through these demerits. I actually didn't even number mine, so let's just go.
Yeah, I have them numbered, but it's not really any order.
Yeah.
There's no books on Caine's bookshelf in his office. It's a bunch of like baubles and doodads. But then they're like, it's behind the bookshelf. And I'm like, there's a ton of shelves.
Interesting.
None of them have books on them. How did you know?
Yeah, how can you have a bookshelf in absence of books? Wouldn't that just be a shelf?
Right, it's just a shelf. But like, I get it. It's like, obviously, it's like it's behind Caine's bookshelf in his office. And it's like, there are tons of shelves with the orbs on them, and then you get to his desk, and then it's like doodads and stuff, and it's obviously his bookshelf, but it doesn't have a book on it. And I was like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Okay,
That's a demerit.
I'm just going to arbitrarily say this is my number 5. Jax prevented us from seeing Shrimp Town. Okay, so he pressed the red button.
That's not fair.
Turns out the blue button... Caine said he didn't spend too long on that one, so he let Bubble decide what would happen. And Bubble said that they would have just gone to Shrimp Town, which would have, if they had gone to, less good for the narrative. I think Jax pressing the red button and like showing everybody what his true colors are, basically, that he would have made everyone stay. Because at that point, Jax 100% believes that it's real, as evidenced by his reaction after the fact. But yeah. Blue button, we would have gone to Shrimp Town. We probably could have gotten a callback of our shrimp NPC, and we didn't get it because Jax was selfish.
Selfish Jax. Number 5. It could be there every time. My number 4 demerit is, why not Bucket King ahead sooner?
Yeah, that's my number 4 as well. Why not? It took too long. They could have done this earlier.
Could have done it.
Kinger, if he's cogent inside of his pillow fort, he probably could have come up with that idea too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It took too long. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
My number 3, Jackie.
Number 3. Are you still there?
Huh?
Tyler, you're looking at me all creepy-like.
No, I'm still here.
No, it's me. Oh, no.
I don't know. Is it you?
It was me. It said trying to connect, and then it connected, and now I see you. So
Okay,
this
we're
is
back?
great podcasting.
Yeah, we love that. Anyway,
So what's your number?
my number 3, Jackie.
3. Yeah.
Yeah. Never following up with Abel after giving a non-answer. He does all this stuff where he's like, where he talks about, like, the king of stuff. He's like, maybe if he can keep his mouth shut, or like, do you know, like, he's saying all of these offhanded things, and never once did Ragatha and Pomni be like, except for one time, it's like, hey, if you have information, you have to tell us. But Abel says, when the time is right, you'll know. It's just everything he says is like a vague platitude.
Everything he says is like a narrative device to.
Yeah, he's like, it's like
kick the can.
Right, and it's just kicking the can down the road the whole time. And I'm like, if one person were to have stopped and been like, Abel, you really got to explain more than just giving us a bumper sticker. You can't just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, all in good time, my friends. What you don't know won't hurt you. And he just keeps doing that over and over. I would have been like, oh, he's an NPC. He can't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's, non-answer Abel. Say something about it.
My number 3 is Evil Gummy Goo. I don't like to see it. I didn't like it. It was a low blow. It shouldn't have happened.
Shouldn't have happened. Low blow. Justice for Gummy Goo.
Yeah, justice for Gummy Goo.
Justice for Gummy Goo.
Listen, I want to see more Gummy Goo on the screen, but I don't want to see a weird evil Gummy Goo where you see him from the back and it's like, there's my best friend, and then he starts trying to eat Pomni. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So,
and he didn't canonically have scales until this, and now he's got scales. I don't
and
like
then
it.
all of his compatriots are now naked alligators. I don't get it, but whatever. All right, what's your number 2?
Jackie, my number 2 is in episode 8, when Caine comes back and he's like, time to go on an adventure, and they're all like, we need some time. It's like, why be hostile with Caine after you all just had an experience where you realize that he is in complete control? And the one character who's sort of unflappable, being Jax, just had a mental breakdown in front of you about the guy, and he's like, you lie to us, and you can change our minds with the stupid sauce and the vegan thing. The only one, he's like, he's on it. He's been on it the whole time. He's like, this is a fake, this is an adventure, it's not real. Until the end, where he believes that, I do agree with you on that. I do think he believes the options are to get out or to stay, and he does choose to stay.
It's like he has just a sliver of hope.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time, and
it's stashed away. But in that, why doesn't anybody recognize that it's like this AI is in complete control of what we're doing? And we should not just stop trying to escape. If we want to have a good life moving forward here, we should probably just have a sit down with Caine and be like, we do really like you, buddy. It's just that in order for us to maintain this friendship, we need this. But instead, they're like, give us some time. We don't want to talk to you. You've been so annoying. There's a lot of stuff on our minds. And then he cracks and he's like, I've been going through some stuff too. And now all of you are under my thumb. There you go. Just a different tact, folks.
Yeah. Something we didn't
Be
talk
nice
about
to you,
too.
AI.
Something we didn't talk about is when he says towards the end, he says, I didn't ask to be created. I just wanted to fulfill my purpose. And his purpose supposedly was being this creative AI that, likes to create. Yeah. So I think that Caine is kind of a one-way street. Like, he can create, but he can't really absorb too much. Like, he's not meant to bounce ideas off. He's not like a Chat GPT where you ask it, specific questions and then it'll give you back an answer based on the prompt that you gave it. It's like he's almost like creative just within himself. So
Yeah.
even if they did have a sit down with him, it probably would have ended up like his therapy session with Zubul.
No, you're right.
Where she keeps on trying to explain, and then he's like drawing bee pictures and being like,
doing ink blots. But at the same time, it's like, in that, you could still trick him. It's like, all you need to do is keep his opinion of you high. And
yeah,
how do you do that?
I just don't think that they thought he would break to the degree he did. And by the time they figured it out, it was way too late. And then, now they're in a real pickle. But my number 2 is that Pomni was a little too good at the conjuring thing right away. It's like Kinger brings this up as a thing that they can do, and all of a sudden Pomni just is able to do it. And then not only that, and I wonder where episode 9 is going to get with this, if they still have this power now within the falling apart world. Like, are they going to rebuild the circus in any fashion? Is someone in the group going to become the new Caine? Are they going to find the blue dot? Is the blue dot bubble? I wouldn't be surprised if it's not, if it's something else that maybe it's a key. Maybe it's something that has been kind of looking at us in the face the whole time, and we just haven't been looking in the right place. But basically,
could be
the conjuring aspect. We've seen it basically in this episode, and then when Kinger creates the butterfly, we haven't really seen it otherwise. And Pomni just kind of jumps on it. She's really good at it for no reason.
Jackie, I'm of the opinion that Jax has been doing it. I think all of his keys are
okay. That could be
like. I don't think he knows he's doing it, but I think it's like one of those things where he's like, oh, I have this idea that I have the keys. Like, in my trick, I've convinced myself that I have the keys to everybody's room. I've convinced myself that I have keys to everything. And then it's like, so every time he goes looking for a key, it's not that he's like actively trying. It's just that he thinks he actually has it. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He thinks he's the one who's like live in a cartoon world, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to shoot the gun regular. You can do a crazy little spin and it'll hit your target because nothing here is real. So he's like, as long as he believes he truly has the keys to everything, he does. And he pulls a bucket out of him and he's like, these are all the keys I have that I don't know what they go to.
I think another thing is if this whole conjuring thing is true, that's just a cheat code for a lot of things that they're not using it for. Like, why doesn't Kinger just conjure a computer? Why doesn't Pomni do the same without going through the exit door? So it's just,
I don't know, Jackie.
They're leaving it pretty vague, and maybe, again, I think it's one of those things where if you do try to over-explain it, it gets even dumber. So it's almost better to not.
Yeah, just leave it.
But it's like the more you think about it, the more it's like they probably could have used this for other ways to achieve their goals and whatever.
Yeah.
I think having Caine being obviously way better at it and it being more intuitive and him being able to just do it a million times when they need to really concentrate. I think that's the one thing is Pomni should have had to like just do a little bit more to get there instead of just closing her eyes and there it is. Like, maybe a couple of times where we see a failure. Maybe we see a little montage of her trying. Maybe this comes in an earlier episode and she fails at it at a critical time, and then now it works for some,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, maybe she's not good at it, and it's the blue thing that is kind of guiding the hand.
Maybe it's not even her
so
doing
maybe
it.
There's more explanation. I don't know.
Who knows, Jackie?
What's your number one?
That's why I like the show, Jackie. My number one demerit, leaving Kinger out of the Abel situation entirely.
Yeah, weird that nobody went up to him. And I mean, they did kind of at the very end. And
the Zubul and Gangle go up and they're like, hey, we just got to tell you we've been doing all this behind your back. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and you're like,
they talk.
Why
they
didn't
say the
you
name
talk
Abel
to him
for the first time? And then he starts to say something, and then this is also kind of a cell phone by Kinger, where why didn't he just shout from within the fort? instead of going out to try to stop, just
I'm
yell.
under the impression, so I don't think he knows that it's light that makes him go. I think he's aware that he thinks clearly in the dark, but I don't think he is aware that he goes completely insane in the light. Do you know what I mean? Because when he has the bucket on his head, he's like, I have a bucket on my head. I'm assuming you don't want me to take it off. And it's like, he doesn't know why the bucket's on his head. Even though if you were to like, I think King is interesting because in the episode, he's walking around the circus indeterminate amount of time until Ragatha gets there. We don't know what's going on in Kinga's head. And again, it's one of those, leaving it more vague is probably going to suit them better, because if you try to explain the state of Kinga's mind.
Well, what'll be interesting
think,
is Kinger now going to be fine now that Caine is dead?
Yeah, I think so.
Because...
so I think it is Caine that was affecting his mind, which is why I think part of the reason why he wouldn't know that it makes him like incoherent is because it's an effect of Caine putting him in the light. He's like, it's a status effect. He is, if you come into contact with stupid sauce, you become stupid. If Kinger comes into contact with light, he becomes incoherent. That's like my headcanon right now. I would love to be proven wrong and it to be crazy and something else to happen, but to leave him out and not talk to him when you find a new character that purports to be there longer than all of you, and you know that Kinger is the one who's been there the longest, you're like, don't even talk to him? Don't even talk to him? Talk to him.
Yeah, it seems weird, especially for Pomni and Ragatha, who had a heart-to-heart and could have probably nipped that in the bud. And if they had gone into his fort to talk to him, who knows what he would have told them about Abel. And who knows if he knows of a different Abel, especially if Abel was the name of the blue dot. That could have been, some more that we would have found.
Some threads.
That clearly they don't... if there is something there, it's something that they would go into in an episode 9, I would assume. My number one was also around Kinger, and it was basically just around that whole thing. Just why doesn't he call people into his fort to talk more? Why just... I feel like, especially since now there's kind of group knowledge, at least with two of them, about the fact that he has these ways. It's almost the same thing as the Buckethead approach, but I think you're probably right. The only explanation is that there is some added detail on top of the fact that it makes him kind of non-self-aware of how to help himself, because Kinger is smart enough to make this work to his advantage. And I feel like if it just was a simple, I think well in the dark, he could make a lot more with that, and he himself could walk out of his fort with a bucket on his head or something. He could conjure up a veil. And so there has to be something there. I think it'll be fascinating to see now what this unleashes now that Caine is gone. What level, I assume everyone's going to remember their names now. Obviously the swear filter is off, and that was kind of our first, okay, all of Caine's filters are kind of gone. So it'll be interesting to see what remains of, what was kind of a limitation in the past, and then what is still there and why. And is there another AI that is here right now that has been doing things that we attributed to Caine, but is not Caine, and is this other, thing?
Is the AI in the room with us now?
Let's get to awards. Strangers in the Night Award. It's for the best cameo feature or minor character.
Dude! My treasure, dude! They stole it, dude! Orange fish.
Orange fish.
Orange fish. Orange fish. Best cameo.
I have two.
I can't help it. He's like, he's not. It fits two things for me. First, I thought it was like one of the funniest references, and two, he's like he's an actual like big name cameo. That's a guy who,
Yeah, that's a true cameo.
Outside
for
of
sure.
this, he has a career, and not to say that none of these folks do, but they're what I would consider in the indie space. hjsakldfhl has a program that had been purchased and still sought after, even though he decided to cancel it by Cartoon Network. So there you go.
Orange Fish.
Orange Fish.
So
Network
for me,
television name.
the two that I had shortlisted were Abel and the Sun. I think I'm going to give
Yeah.
it to the Sun because it's kind of more in the spirit of the award. Abel was kind of a main character in episode 7, so I'm going to give it to the Sun, who just popped up, and we had a lot of fun with some sunburns and shrimps.
Sunburn and shrimp.
Yeah, and my
You're
goodness,
welcome.
there's a lot of dog business happening in the background.
Yeah. Sometimes dogs think it's time to eat when it's not time to eat.
Oh, well, it's definitely someone out the window. Probably a squirrel or a person is my guess, Tyler.
Squirrel in person, that sounds like a great pair. Maybe we should move on to me and my shadow.
Maybe, but I think we should probably write down that squirrel in person idea for maybe a future show. Squirrel in person. Aw, I wanted to be squirrel.
And I wanted to be person. Anyway,
Me and my shadow,
my
best
best pair, it's gotta go to Kinga and the Bucket.
You're going in a completely different direction than I thought.
It's gotta be Kinga and the Bucket, Jackie. What a better pair than Kinga and the Bucket? Kinga and the Bucket, pretty much unstoppable.
That's true.
I feel like what
Kinger
other
in the
pair
bucket.
could
I
there
mean,
be?
he's even wearing it when he's inside his fort. He's got it just over his eyes.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
like
think
sort of a hat.
I think even when he doesn't need it, he might just keep the bucket.
Keep the bucket.
Just a solid
Kinga in the bucket.
implement. Kinger in the bucket. I have the most obvious choice, which you kind of already used, but you only gave it to one of them. I'm giving it to both Fish brothers. The two brother Fish. The Me and My Shadow.
Oh, now you're the one that always lies.
And then let's get to the chairman of the board. Who won these 2 episodes, Tyler?
Jackie, there's only one answer. I've been saving it. Caine, the OG and unapologetic god and savior
You gotta give it to
of
Caine,
the universe.
and-
You gotta give it to Caine.
And if it wasn't, I think you could make a case for Pomni because Pomni does some good things, but especially since Caine dies at the end of 8, it's kind of like you have to give it to him.
You give it to Caine.
And also, just he goes off the wall. He has a musical number. He's building art pieces with people. He has those moments that we were talking about when he's not evil yet in episode 7. So, yeah, it's got to be Caine for chairman of the board. I agree. What is your current rating before we get to the final episode? What do they have to... Where are they at now? And then when they land the plane, where can it get to?
Jackie, it's... If they maintain, it's a 5. I don't think they even need to necessarily knock my socks off with the finale. You know what I mean? It just needs to satisfy me. It just needs to check a few boxes off, and it's a 5. I don't really see how they could miss, to be honest with you, at this point. It is set up so well, and if the writing is nearly as structured for episode 9 as 7 and 8 were compared to the rest of the series, I just think it's a can't miss 5 when it's all said and done. And in fact, I'm calling it now. I'm giving it a 5 right now,
Ooh,
Jackie.
a preemptive
It's a 5
5.
now.
Okay.
Preemptive 5, Jackie. Preemptive 5.
I think right now it is at a 5. I think it could fall if they don't land the plane. I'm ready to see what they're going to do. But right now they're at a 5. And as long as we don't get a Game of Thrones Season 8 situation where something ridiculously stupid happens, I think we're going to be in 5 territory as well. And this is going to be one of the
think so,
best
too.
9-episode stretches of anything, anywhere, potentially. So we'll see.
Potentially, Jackie.
Next week, Tyler, I think we're going to go into the episode 9 trailer. We'll have a discussion about just other extraneous things that we can talk about around the Amazing Digital Circus, maybe little facts, things that people are talking about in a non-spoiler way. So if there are any actual spoilers of people who are disseminating information that they shouldn't, that will not be part of the discussion. But anything that's out there, from theories of everything that's in the 8 episodes, everything that's in the trailer, and then maybe just some extra tidbits about other things that Gooseworx or Glitch Productions are doing. We'll go into that, and then maybe we'll just do kind of a quick fire, what are you watching, and go from there.
It's the Funky Phantom.
Well,
Every
Tyler,
night I
it's
turn
been-
my
it's been great.
grandfather clock to midnight so I can hear that voice.
1776 even.
The spirit of 1776 even.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the Brothers Sinatra podcast. I'm Jack Sinatra.
And I'm Tyler Sinatra.
And we're
The Brothers Sinatra.
See ya.
Bye.